we'll probably go ahead and get started. While Lyle's gone, I just want to point out a couple things. If you notice, you have a chat window. If you would like to submit questions there while we're doing things, I'll often look back there and see if I can answer questions that way as well. And at any time, the whole point of this is for any of you who have questions, that it benefits everyone. So obviously we all benefit from the questions that other people have, and we're starting this from a basic level. So basically getting started, and also if you are in the business, what you can do to expand your business. And then we're going to do this every week until about the end of June, and then we'll probably scale it back either bi-weekly or monthly, and keep going into further detail. And judging by people's questions and things that they want more specifically, that's kind of how we'll gear the criteria. But so really for this session here, we would love it. Any questions you have, anything you've been wondering, we would love to answer anything that you've got, and we'll kind of go through some things as well. Go ahead.
This is Diane. I got something. I live in Texas, and they're requiring a plan checklist for for my mobile unit. When I purchase it, am I going to get the blueprints or that plan that they're asking me for?
When you say, explain what you mean by a plan checklist. They
want to know, like, they have special requirements, and so they want the plans of like where the water heater is, where it all contains.
Okay, you want a schematic layout. We can provide that.
Okay, because that's what they're requiring in order for me to get started on there. I've already been to the city.
Yeah, some places will require, some don't.
Okay.
And I know something that I've had to do with that. So I've had like a schematic that we do, and we also in that plan usually have to show like a Google Earth kind of view that shows where on the premises you're going to be, and so on and so forth as well.
Okay, because they have some like special requirements. They have like water tank should be at least 30 gallons, and they have like a basic sink would be a 15 by 15 by 12. So they got the length and the width and the depth of it, you know?
Sure. Yeah, and what you can do is you can submit to them what the dimensions are of the sink, and if you just ask us for that information, we can get all that to you. With ours, we have a 3-basin utility sink, which they look highly on, and we also have a separate hand washing sink where we used to have to separate that with a barrier, and now since we separated those by the countertops, we put the hand washing sink up on the top counter, and the 3-basin sink is down below. They love that, and obviously that's in the building in the kiosks. That's not in the carts.
Okay.
But just to give you a heads up.
Okay, I got that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have one more question for now.
Do you have any questions?
I have a question like if it's better to go to start off, because I'm just starting off, and buying a bus versus the 2 buildings, 1 bus or 2 buildings.
Let's hold on that question. We're going to walk through some basics that I think will cover a lot of what you're asking there. And rather than trying to piecemeal it, let us put it in a little bit organized. And if we don't answer, in fact, one thing I'd like to stress across the board to everybody is, as you have questions, write them down if we're in the middle of something so you don't forget them. And we're going to do a Q&A or a question and answer at the end of what we're doing here, so that you'll have an opportunity to make sure you can get your questions answered.
Thank you, sir.
And I also told them to interrupt too.
Yeah, well, I know, but sometimes if we're in the middle of discussing something, explaining it, write it down, and then when we get to a stopping point, then say, okay, now I got a question about that. Rather than
that's why I wanted to wait till y'all started, but then I guess I got anxious. But okay, sorry.
No, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't want people forgetting while we're discussing something. I don't want people to forget a question that they had, so you always write them down.
Yeah, that question that that question that you just had specifically is kind of one of the things that we're actually concentrating on. So if you have further questions on that after, please let us know.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with some content, unless anybody else has something they want to ask right off the bat. We good? Okay, and everybody's able to see my screen right now, right?
Yeah.
It's showing the homepage of Snowie's website.
Yeah, if you cannot see it, speak up.
Yeah. So basically, if you look at the top row, that's a lot of what we're going to be concentrating on. And these two are older images, and we're actually replacing those right now, but I didn't have these button links. So I apologize for the older style looking. If you look over at this cart, this is kind of the new look that we've had for a bit now, and these will be updated here shortly. So I kind of want to get some verbiage down real quick, because some people are like, I don't know what you're talking about when you say building versus kiosk versus carts and so on and so forth. So starting here at the left, this is the Snowie bus. We have two kinds of buses. We have an Astro bus, which is built on a Chevy Astro van, and really the idea behind that was it was a very affordable way for people to be able to get into the business. It comes on a used van, a used chassis, but it allows them to be able to get in for a much cheaper price. The Express is built on brand new Express vans. It's bigger, it can handle a bigger payload, and it's a bit more roomy, and you're able to load that thing up, and you can hardly tell at all. So just to go off of those real quick, that's the bus. So when we're referring to that, you know what we're talking about. The next is the buildings. A building and a kiosk they're identical, except that the kiosk collapses, and the kiosk does not have windows, and it does not have air conditioning. Other than that, they're identical. So if you look at the interior pictures of the water system and all of that in a kiosk, it's the same for a building as well as a kiosk. Buildings, they're able to be locked up and put on site. You're able to put them in a parking lot, for instance, and lock them up at night and leave them on location, and when all of your equipment is kept safe. If you notice, everything has wheels on it, and all of those wheels can come off in like 5 or 10 minutes. They're very, very easy. In fact, we have some videos online that show the mobility of a building and taking the wheels on and off, and that you can see how simple it really is. And so obviously you can do that with the kiosk as well. Usually with a kiosk, it's one of my favorite with events, because you back that thing up, you set it up, and I've been next to, Lyle could probably share in this, but you pull up, you set up your event, you literally pop the top, you put your shaver up, you put your flavor station out, and you're rolling. You're ready to go. And I've had other vendors next to me comment all the time. They're like, you guys are like the last ones here and the first ones to go. It's very, very easy. The cleanup is the same. You just put your shaver on the floor, put your flavor station in, drop your top, and you're driving away. And it makes it very, very nice to be able to do that and tackle that. The last section is carts. And in the carts don't have wheels. You don't pull them on their own trailer. You don't have them on their own wheels. You either have to put them up on a trailer or put them up in the bed of a truck to be able to get them. And there's a wide variety of sizes for each of these. And then the carts, we have an 8-foot cart. In fact, I'm going to click into this real quick just so we can see. We have an 8-foot cart, which is down here. We have a 5-foot cart, and we have these umbrella carts. Now, the 8-foot and the 5-foot, they come with water systems, so you can still pass your health inspections in that. Usually an umbrella cart and these other 2 carts, they don't have any water systems. They don't have any plumbing in them whatsoever. So usually that's somebody who has like an ice cream shop and they want to put a stand out front, or they're close enough to a restroom where their employees can wash their hands, and that the health department is okay with them not having a water system. But usually you'll be required to have a water system if you're doing this for a business, and that's where these other 2 carts come in. The other big thing that we use these for is putting them in arenas. For arenas, for those bigger stands, they take up a much bigger footprint. And so when we go into arenas like college football stadiums, in baseball arenas, and baseball parks, and that we always use carts because they're shallow. You stand behind them and you're able to serve, and you don't have that big of a footprint. And usually the venue is very happy to have those in there. And so going now, that's the lingo. And so going on to your question, yeah, go ahead, Lau.
Real quick, switch the screen over to me. I'm going to just give them a quick image of those different units and where we use them.
Okay.
So as Aaron was talking about that, this would be an example. This is an example of a building that you would sit in a parking lot and have it stationary during the summer, and you've got customers coming and going. So you can see this is just placed sitting there. We hook up power, leave it for the entire summer. So when we talk about not just buildings, but we'll also make reference to what we call stationary locations. This is what we're referring to. The kiosk is a setup like this where you can see the open air. There's no windows. This is where you're high traffic, high volume. You'll hear us talk about a flavor station. This particular one has to be a very busy event for us, and we've got 2 flavor stations running. And you can see we've got 2 gals working in there. And just so you know, for a reference point, at that particular event, we crank out about 14 snow cones a minute for a solid 5 hours. So it'll give you an idea of the capacity of the system. The other is that 5-foot cart. This happens to be a night view, so you can see the backlit on it. But it gives you an idea where you can stand. You can see the young lady here standing behind it, but you don't have the depth and size of the others, just a little more compact. So just thought that might be helpful, Aaron. You can take it back now.
No, that's great. Does anybody have any questions up to this point? No? Okay, well, let's go ahead.
Oh, it's Gordon.
Hey everybody, this is it's Lyle and I. This is Gordon Rupp. Anybody who is wondering, you've seen him in a lot of our videos.
Be careful, Gordy. We got a dozen people on here watching you.
Gordon is one of the owners. You saw earlier Carl walk behind my back as well. So we're here to. Gordon's actually not able to hear because I put it on my ears. That's actually okay. Show my screen. Okay, so we're back to my screen. Let me get some stuff moved here. Okay, so what we want to talk about is going back now kind of to your question that you had earlier. That was Diana that asked that. Was that right, Diana?
Yes.
So going back, actually, let me go back to, well, this screen's okay. So we wanted to talk about the markets, and I'm going to actually let Lyle kind of run with this, but what markets you use each of these, and how to approach them, and the advantages and disadvantages of each of those markets as well. And while he's talking real quick, I'm going to get Gordon set up so that he's able to hear us. So,
Aaron, why don't you switch the screen back to me then if you're going to do that?
Okay. Is it coming?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you able to see me?
Yeah, got it.
Okay. What we wanted to do is take a minute and talk about, as Aaron was explaining, the 3 major markets that we tap into. I'm going to pull up, I think, to have the Snowie website pulled up so you could take a look at this. I apologize. I'm going to pull up here pretty quick. But as he talked about, really as we hit markets, get these where you can see all of them. There are 3 major markets that we look at when people are asking us what's the best approach. And this, Diana, you were asked, this is kind of what you were looking at. Should I go with buildings? Should I go with the bus, kiosks? What should I look at? And the way I kind of walk through this with people, when you go through the consideration, where do I use a building? This is the stationary location. and I'm going to pull up that image again that we had earlier. This is, and there's some guidelines we can give you some direction on where to locate these. The nice thing about a building is you put it in on a location, you schedule the employees, they show up, they work, they close at the end of the day, and off they go. You're not having to be there all the time and chasing problems. It's a very almost autonomous. The only thing you need to do is go by and make sure ice is delivered, deliver supplies a couple of times a week. Like what we do, for example, is we'll do deliveries every Monday and Friday just to keep your concentrates and sugar water, cups, that kind of stuff. That usually is sufficient. And we're going to come back and look at some numbers on this to give you an idea of, you know, what kind of capacity can I do? What can I expect for cells? So the stationary, the building location is one avenue. And really what that's about is customers are coming to you. You're encouraging, you know, that way you set up, as people drive by, they're going to see the big thing is the windsock that you see at the top. It gets their attention. I'm going to give you a little highlighter here. But you can see that windsock at the top there.
Yeah.
Oh, my technology is challenged.
Can you hear?
Okay, so the windsock grabs a lot of attention, but it's also visibility. This particular location, and we have another time we're going to go through all the things to look for if you want to pursue stationary locations. But that's one avenue of source of income. But it's a very low, hard to get into, to find the locations, get the power, make sure you have all the things. But once it's there, it's a good steady income, and it produces smaller numbers each day, but they're pretty consistent on what those numbers are. The second is your event business. This kind of setup that you see where we have the kiosk and the flavor stations, somebody needs to mute a phone. We've got a lot of background noise going on. I'm not sure who it's coming from, but we're getting a lot of, yeah, if you can mute your phones, that would be helpful. But the kiosk business, the design for this, we've always looked at this and said, this is for like soccer tournaments, baseball tournaments, community festivals, which is what this particular picture is. It is a setting where I might do fairs. Aaron talked about getting into some bigger things such as sporting venues, you know, baseball arenas and football stadiums and that kind of stuff. But it's if there's 1,500 people there, in we come. The problem has always been, what about if there's more than 1,500 people or less than 1,500 people? Was it worth doing? And that's where the Snowie bus came in. Is allows you that flexibility of being able to go into a market where now I can pull into that venue and be operational literally in about 5 minutes or less. I'm not looking for and scrambling to find electricity, all that. The bus is fully self-contained, runs on batteries so that you don't have to have a power supply, and that the ease of operation as you pull into it allows you, you can see here on the side is this flavor station right in the middle where somebody can walk up, they get the snow cone and then just start making you shave it, hand it to them, and they can put on their own flavors. In fact, I may have a picture where they're actually doing that. Yeah, you can see the kids are putting the flavors on there. But this allows me, now I can go to what I refer to as small events. Now, what is a small event? This is going to be something as small as a birthday party. It might only have 10 or 15 people. It might have, you know, something a little bit bigger where I'm doing a school walkathon or something of that nature where there will be 200 or 300 kids there. But I can go in and I can come in and do an event that's 1 to 3 hours instead of looking for something that's 2 to 3 days. So it allows me a quicker turnaround, and I can now do through 2, 3, 4 events in a day if I can get them all scheduled, instead of just scheduling one thing a day. Allows me a greater access to a greater variety. We do grand openings for businesses. We do customer appreciation days. We do employee appreciation days for businesses. I visit daycares. I have businesses. I've got a welding shop as an example that's got 85 employees. They have a show up once a week. The company pays for a small snow cone for their employees. If they want to go to a medium or a large, the employee pays the difference. We sell nothing but larges all summer long. So we stop in, we're there for an hour and a half, we walk away with about $400 in sales. So that's kind of exposes you a little bit to the markets. Now, Anna, you had asked that question, which is the best way to go? I'm going to walk through just some raw numbers here to give you an idea of what you can do profit-wise with each of the locations and what's the return on it and where's the best fit. If some of you have input or questions as we go through this again, jump in and ask them. What you're looking at here is what we call revenue summary. There's a variation of this. We need to I was just finishing updating the numbers on this, so it's going to be a touch out of date. But we will have this out there on the website probably within the next week with all the updated numbers. But what we tried to do is go in and say, okay, what's the cost for an ounce of flavor? And if you're buying flavors by the gallon and our concentrates and the sugar at today's prices, you run about 3.5 cents for an ounce of flavoring. So what we did is come up here and said, okay, to buy ice, your spoon straw, your styrofoam cup, your syrup, napkins, etc., what you end up with is a cost to make a small snow cone is 16.5 cents. So you're actually making $1.84 in profit on an 8-ounce snow cone. If you're going to the large, now I happen to use 8, 14, and 20 ounce. Some use 8, 16, 24. This just becomes personal preference. But if I'm doing that large cup, my cost on $4 is 45 or 46 cents. I'm making $3.54 per snow cone. Now, that's just to give you an idea of the profit margin that exists on those. Where does that equate in actual numbers used? What we're going to do here, this is now taking that profit and looking at if I did $150 a day versus 200 a day, 300 a day, 400, or 500. The average Snowie out there actually does about 250, kind of right here between the 2 and the 300. But using our cost of a snow cone, our kind of our median cost of 12.34%, our variable cost, what that does, that variable cost, if I did $150 worth of snow cones, my cost for the snow cones is $18.51. If there's sales tax, in this case we don't have any in there. Gross profit in a day is $131. My fixed cost is $102. Now what is that fixed cost? Quick rundown on that fixed cost is this. I'm putting in $80 in wages, assuming $8 an hour, 10 hours a day. My rent, that was based on $1,000 a month, I think. No, $500 a month, I think it was. That's it. Yeah, $500 a month, what we used there. Some electricity, insurance, and your total cost. So my total fixed cost a day is $102.94. So what you see there is that 102.94. So I did 150 in sales. I have 18.51 in the cost of the snow cones. I made $131 profit. I had $102 fixed cost. My net profit was $28. Not much. This is kind of the break-even category. But if you're doing 200 a day, all of a sudden you're making $72 a day profit. $300 sales a day, you're making $160 profit. 400 a day, you make $250 profit. And you can look down here, we project out for like 5 months. If I can do $300 a day, I'm making $24,000 profit over a 5-month period of time. Any questions on that? By the way, Aaron, I think you're back. Aaron?
Yes, I'm back.
Okay, I told them we would update. This was needed to be an updated version put on the website, that we'd have it out there in the next week. I'll email this to you later to get that done.
Perfect. I got a question for you on that profit.
Yeah.
On that profit margin you just came up with, you said it was $24,000. It's $24,005.
Yep.
You still got to pay Uncle Sam out of that, right?
Yeah, we're looking at the net profit is what the business generates. I'm not dealing with personal taxes.
Okay.
Yeah, that because every state is so different. When you start dealing with federal and state and local taxes, there's no way for us to factor that in.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just simply the profit on that building.
Right.
That you made working that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but the biggie thing when you look at that, understand one of the questions asked was how much does it cost to get into this, and just in a rough number, you're about $20,000 to open a stationary location.
Okay.
Well, you just paid for that building in its first year and put $4,000 in your pocket. You're only going to have taxes on $4,000 when you're putting the money back into the business.
Yeah.
And it's paying for itself very quickly. So there is one benefit to that, and then every year you're going to generate another 24, or the next year you use that to fund the purchase of another building, and then the purchase of another, and keep expanding as you go into it. Now, if I do multiple locations, you know, if I had 2 buildings going and I ran that 5 months, now all of a sudden we're at that $48,000. You know, you got 4 buildings and you're running, let's just say 4 buildings for 4 months, you can make $76,000 every year just off those 4 buildings. And that's running a short season of 4 months. Is that possible?
And what figure is that going off of? Is that off of the $300 a day? Wow.
This is, yeah, you'll see right here, $300 a day.
Oh, I didn't even see that. Yeah. Which, in my opinion, and I don't know how much you talked about this, is pretty modest and very realistic.
Yeah, I told them the average overall is about $250, but there's a lot of people that are trying to find them and learning the business, and they're doing that $150 to $200 a day. Do buildings exist that do $500 a day? Oh, easy. We've got you know, I can get you a couple names if somebody wants to talk to people. I personally have 4 locations. My average of the 4 locations comes in about $350 a day. I've got a couple that do $250, or one that does $250, one that does about $300, and a couple that do between $400 and $450. And then I've got one location that actually, first half of the summer as it's getting going, does about $350. The rest of the summer does about $550.
Dang. That's a good day, sir.
What's that?
That's a good day.
That's a really, yeah. My record, people ask, you know, what kind of capacity. The most I've ever done at a stationary location in a single day was $1,800.
Wow.
So that's just set up and keep it supplied. So it's possible to do some good numbers, you know. When it gets too cold, I've been down at the bottom end with that too, and say, okay, it's too cold, we're done for the season. Now, transition that over. So this was looking at the stationary location. What about the mobiles? If I want to do events and hit the sporting events, the community festivals, church festivals, that type of stuff. And that's where we're going to switch as we were looking at those pictures. This is the event layout where I'm going to the venue where the customers are there, and instead of waiting for them to come to my location, I'm now getting them to come get in line, get the snow cone. There are 2 lines of thought with this. Some people prefer to use, well, I'm going to come back to that. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's keep looking at the numbers. All this is the same as we looked at our costs. What changes here is now, instead of doing a daily, events typically are weekends. Maybe a Friday night, a Saturday, a Sunday. So what I put in here was, if I did $1,000 for 2 days, $1,500 for 2 days, $2,000 for 2 days, $2,500, $3,000. Our fixed costs here again, we're going to have our wages. Those wages are going to go up because I'm working. I usually have 2 kids working per location instead of 1, so my wages are doubling. But I typically don't have electricity. I don't have rent involved here. What I have is an event fee. So you're going to see here, using the middle of the line.
Who didn't tell us?
Hey, Aaron, you're noisy.
Yeah.
2,000 in sales. My cost for the snow cones is 10.57%. My variable cost then for the snow cones is $211. I'm assuming a 25% fee to be in the event. So it's $500. My gross profit was $1,288. My fixed cost, the wages in that was $180. I made $1,100 for that one event. If I did 5 events, I did $5,000. If I can do 15 events in a year at $2,000 an event, I did $16,000 profit. Just I'm going to ask a question out of curiosity. Is there anybody online with us that does events? And
Yes.
what number would you say? I don't want to use my numbers all the time. I want to see what anybody else does.
We do a lot more, but we don't just do shave ice.
Okay, but with the shave ice, how much would you say you do at an event on a per day basis or at a per event like we're showing here?
How much do you think? It's hard to say. It depends on the event.
Yeah, I'm just curious if anybody has any idea what kind of numbers.
Yeah. Well, I just did an event. This is Jerry with El Pingüino here in Texas.
Uh-huh.
And it was a local event. It was kind of a small event. Started at 1. There was a lot of beer there, a lot of dancing. So in the evening, it turned in more into beer, but we had to stay there all day just to, you know, maintain credibility. And we had $500 in sales. It was, I would say it was brisk. It was a cold day. And we were selling them at 12 ounces for $250, 16 ounces for $350. And so my booth cost was $250. I think we made right about $200 that day.
Just out of curiosity, why the $250, $350 instead of $3 and $4?
You know, I had a hard time trying. Well, first of all, I thought, well, it's a low-income area. It's the area that's in my area. Like, I'm about 1 block from this place, and I didn't want them to, because they're going to visit my place. I didn't want them to think I was gouging them. If I was in another neighborhood, I could have done that easily. But because I'm in my own neighborhood, in my own community event, I tried to only raise the dollar. Whereas a 12 ounce would go for $150.
Oh, so you're okay. You are tied to that. I didn't know what your pricing was at your location, so you just raised it a buck off that. Okay.
Yeah.
Just the reason I ask is if you get busy, one of the things that takes time is making change. And anytime you have to deal with quarters, it slows you down. On a $500 day, that may not be a big deal, but if you're looking at the event like it's showing here, we were average, as I talked about, those one girl making snow cones, one taking money, and we were doing 14 snow cones a minute on there. We actually had another girl, I just realized isn't in there. We had 2 girls taking money. Quarters would cost us 2 snow cones a minute. We had 4 hours that we were at this event, and it was just as fast and as hard as we could go for that entire time. We did, for that particular event, in that 4 hours, we did about $3,200 in the 4 hours.
Yeah, I would understand it because I was pretty much a one-man show for a minute, and you know, quarter change was a little bit of a hassle. I had to take my gloves off, get the change, put my gloves back on. Yeah.
Just out of curiosity. Okay, a couple of quick questions. Were you using serving bottles or a flavor station?
Well, I was using serving bottles. Again, this is I haven't even opened my shop yet. And this was, they asked me to be in this thing because everybody else comes from out of the area, and so I wasn't really prepared. So I used serving bottles, and I had only made 1 gallon in strawberry, and the rest was quarts. Up to the beginning, I didn't know what to expect.
You got slammed.
I got slammed, man. I mean, you talk about, people were very curious about a place because we've been working on it for years. It's very colorful and really artsy, and so there was a lot of questions back and forth, which again, sometimes I get into conversation, I have to get to charge them, because it's one of those things,
Did you ever feel like the serving bottles slowed you down and cost you money?
I don't think the bottles really slowed me down too much because, well, I'll tell you the problem I did have is I had 14 flavors. So trying to keep them in alphabetical order, try to get in a routine, which I didn't have a routine, that kind of confused me a little bit, I have a New Orleans shaver, so tempering the ice was another issue. I didn't really understand the temperament of the ice and what it did to the shaver. So a couple of times I clogged up, when I was moving like one snow cone right after another. I've looked into your Snowie machine.
I guess it sounds like a good reason to get a Snowie.
Yeah, I asked about that, and they said, well, it's not as fine as a block shaver. And I said, well, how big a difference is it?
I'm talking we've got a Snowie block shaver that'll outperform anything out there. You'll have to later we can chat about it. But Aaron, is it on the website or on YouTube where they can watch the?
There's even a demo.
Yeah,
there's a demo on our block shaver.
It's like $3,200, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But any experience anybody's had with block, if you go and you see other shavers shave, it can take like 1 minute to 2 minutes to complete a cone, and our block shaver is as fast as our cubes. It can make you can serve a customer in 3 seconds. Well, you can do that with our cube and with our block, which is huge, and then you get the quality of block along with that speed. It's unbelievable.
And those would be great in an event, I don't know what kind of generator it would take, how many amps it pulls. This one pulls 10.5 amps. They asked me to be in the Fiesta that they have here in Texas this weekend. And I was like, well, got a cold front that came in. I'm not really ready to do another event. This one here kind of took it out of me, And it was cool.
You're in Texas?
Yes, sir.
What part of Texas? Because I know they have a big old Fiesta, Texas, and you want to be there because if they gave me the opportunity to do that, I'd get ready real fast. That's a great opportunity.
You guys need to partner up.
Yeah, it's not Fiesta, Texas. It's like a...
Fiesta San Antonio.
Yeah, Fiesta San Antonio, man. That's a big deal.
I mean, that's a big thing. You got over 5,000 people there.
Okay, see, there's that perfect example.
You're talking about a great opportunity, and that goes on for 2 weeks.
Oh, I know. I think it would be great, but I think I'd have to have a better machine. I'd have to be a little more organized.
Yeah, I'm from Houston, and me and you ought to hook up because I ain't seen no Snowies here in Houston. I've been living here all my life, and I ain't seen this, and I've been doing 2 years. I've been investigating Snowie, and I've been interested, and I'm finally gonna get hopefully to God by 2-3 weeks.
Well, one of the questions I asked there, Jerry, was about the bottles versus the flavor station, and where it was slower, it didn't really have a big impact. But one of the things that we have found was we went in and did kind of a comparison to get you an idea. We hear people all the time when they go to an event say, oh, the kids come up and waste the flavor. They put too much flavor on. And I don't want to have that cost. So just for fun, I went in and I pulled this from what we looked at earlier. My snow cones, as we were talking about using a serving bottle, my snow cone cost me $18 I'm sorry, 18 cents a snow cone. So you can see here that the 18.1 cents. What I was factoring here was putting on about 2 ounces of flavoring on an 8-ounce snow cone. So you're going to make, with that, one person by themselves, by the time you take the order, pour the flavors, hand it to the customer, take the money, it's taking you about 1 minute. So you're going to do 60 snow cones a minute, or in 60 minutes, you'll do 60 snow cones. So you're going to make 100 and...
Yeah, 109.
I got to figure out how to... There we go. I'm going to make, in that hour, my profit ends up being on 60 snow cones, I end up making $109 profit.
Yeah.
Now,
you reduce your overhead.
here's what happens when you go to a flavor station, doing the same thing. I'm going to make a worst case scenario, and that is somebody takes that snow cone, they put on double the flavor. So literally they could make it where they're drinking it instead of eating it. So instead of 2 ounces, I'm now using 4 ounces of flavor with the flavor station. I lose 7 cents. Now what that is going up here, remember the cost of my snow cone, when I'm looking at the snow cone based on the 2 ounces, was 66 cents, or 6.5 cents versus 13.5 cents. So it ends up costing me an extra 7 cents for that extra 2 ounces. But the other side of that is I can do 3 snow cones a minute instead of 1, because now all I'm doing is shaving the ice, hand it off to the customer. So in that same time frame, I'm knocking out, in that same 60 minutes, I'm now doing, instead of 60 snow cones, I'm doing 180. I'm making $315 in profit in that hour instead of $109.
No. Okay, I understand.
What you're looking at here is I did $315. Yeah, I used an extra $12 in flavor, but I made $315 versus $109. By using bottles, that cost, if you were busy that entire time, would have cost you $206. That's why we recommend the flavor station, is the volume.
Someone was following up. Who started talking?
No, the only, the mobilization side of it also, I just want to bring that up. Bringing that ice, and I took my 20 blocks of ice, I think I used 15, but they did have delivery there, which again was like $2.50 a block. Did you make your blocks, or your factories are making your own ice, or bringing it in?
I use cube. I find the difference between cube and block. I have both, but more often than not, I'm more concerned about running out of ice than I am that little bit of difference between a block and a cube shaver. That's personal preference. I got people that will argue with me all day long, and there are people that think there is a huge difference and are interested in that quality. As long as you can keep enough ice, yeah, that's always the challenge, is can you keep the ice there?
Well, I think delivery of crushed ice, regular ice in lieu of block ice would be easier, because not everybody requests block ice, but regular ice, they would.
I just wanted to tap in that too. I think what you said, did you say it's easier to do block ice because more people request it?
No, everybody likes the shaved ice. And that's the first thing you ask me, is it shaved ice or is it crushed ice? It's not shaved ice. And my question was the mobilization side of it. Ice delivery is up till 5 o'clock, Hello. And after that, you have to have your own ice. Like in this event. And so, taking 20 blocks of ice out there, again, I'm talking about mobilizing into an event. And so again, I think they're saying that after what I've been through, I had a lot of kids keep coming back.
Yeah. Are you there? Sorry, I don't know if it's as hard for everyone else to hear.
Jerry, we're having a real hard time hearing you.
And we're getting some echo now too. But
one of the things.
The one thing that
go ahead, Eric.
I'm getting a big echo from you, Lyle.
That better?
It's still echoing. Maybe
I'm sorry,
mute yours for a second.
We're getting it's an echo off somebody else's phone or their computer.
Yeah, I just dropped off. Sorry.
Okay, sorry, we're going to have a bit of an echo here, but that was the one thing with block. You know, block, it makes fantastic snow, but yeah, it's hard to get. And I remember when we went to Florida to demo our first block shaver at a trade show, it took us 2 days to find block. And the other disadvantage was, now not only are you in the shaved ice business, but you're in making ice business, you're in the transporting the ice business. I mean, you have so much more of a workload to pull that off if you can't just have ice delivered to you. And that's where that stuff gets a little hard as well.
Somebody needs to mute their computer. We're getting feedback off of the computer.
I wonder. Hello? I think are we better now? Here, I'm going to do this. One moment. Okay. I just muted everybody. I think everybody can hear me still. Let me unmute Lyle. Lyle, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, I can hear that. And I apologize if that echo, I'm sure, was driving everybody crazy.
A little note.
If you feel like you want to talk, yeah, if you want to speak, just kind of make a comment down there in the bottom right. And there's quite a bit of a conversation going on down there as well, and everybody can pay attention to that, and we can even address some of those things as well. I noticed one of them, and it kind of puts us sidetracked, but I do want to touch base, is there was a question here about sugar-free flavors. From my diabetic standpoint, do the flavors, oh no, it just changed on me. Do the flavor concentrates contain sugar? Yeah, they contain a lot of sugar, but we also have a sugar-free product that is called sweet thickener. So it's not like using a Splenda where it's just going on like water. It's thick. It's like syrup. So it goes on and it's absorbed by the snow and has that coating feel that syrup has when you eat it as well. And Lyle, there's a question there. Do you gentlemen have an Excel addressing the mobile bus unit?
I'm going to go through that in just a second. I didn't want to bring up one of the things that we talked about, the block versus the cube shaver. There's a misnomer out there is that cube shavers is always crushed ice. That is not the case. If you look at a Snowie cube shaver, it actually does shave the ice. It's just that it uses cubes. The difference is going to be that because a cube has a lot more edges to it. And anytime you're working around an edge, that's going to chip that little bit. So you'll get some very fine granules coming off of it. But 98% of it is the same kind of shave ice that you're going to get off of a block shaver. You just get a little more consistency with the block. There's not a huge difference. You know, we invite anybody to come to our locations in Cincinnati or Salt Lake and sit down and play with them, or come join us at an event and let you see both. We have great success with both, but the density and quality of that snow, there is a very slight difference in doing it.
Hey, Jeremy.
Yeah,
I muted you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Guys, I've used both in the past. I started out with the block shaver. Yeah, they're wonderful. Don't get me wrong. The cube shaver, you can barely tell a difference, if any. One of my customers that I deal with a lot on my route, she is from Hawaii, and the first thing she said is it really shaved ice? And and I gave it to her, and she's like, it is. It's not crushed ice. Trust me, once you get in this business and you go to festivals, you will see the people doing crushed ice. They're the ones with the old-timey ice crushers, and they crush it into an ice cooler. They scoop it out with a scoop, and put the slushy, I call it crap, on the cup, and then they're walking by they're trying to eat it, and they walk by your booth, and they throw theirs in the trash can and buy from you. So the quality-wise, I would not worry about that. It is shaved ice. Block ice, you will get just a little bit of a difference, but you will run into a problem of running out of ice, finding suppliers. It's hard. It's not easy to make either. It's difficult. So I've been doing this since 2004. I got 2 buildings, 2 kiosks, and the system works. But I would highly suggest cube, a cube shaver. So
one of the things to point out with that, Jeremy, is I laugh at how many people really stress whether it's block or cube, and then they buy cheap flavors. My stationary location, I have one that I literally have 2 guys that use block, and they're a mile in either direction from me, and I outproduce both of them put together. My flavors kick butt, and people don't even mention, they don't even know there's a difference in the ice, but my flavors are so much better. And that's the one thing with Snowie is our flavors are second to none. And so far more important than the minuscule difference between cube and block is the huge difference in the quality of what exists out there in flavors today. And you'll find Snowies are very realistic. There's none of the chemical aftertaste, all the issues that you normally get with flavors. Snowie has eliminated all of those.
Hey, Jeremy. You still with us, Jeremy?
I am. I'm here.
I wanted to. It's kind of fun to hear you talk besides us, so that people, that they're able to hear people that are experiencing it outside of people who are with Snowie specifically, or with corporate. I mentioned you said the windsock is worth its weight in gold. Just talk on that real quick.
It is. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're setting up at a permanent location or at a festival. The windsock, people see it when they're walking all the way, sometimes on the other side of the festival. And, especially kids, they want to know what that windsock is. They look at it and they're like, what is that? Let's go over there, Mama. Or, if you're at a permanent location at a shopping center, people drive by to see what it is. And they stop, and it tells people you're open if you're at a permanent location. They're like, hey, Snowie's is open. That windsock's up and going.
And the kids know to look for it.
But you definitely got to have the windsock because it is worth its weight in gold. I honestly believe it increases your sales. As crazy as that sounds, that little windsock increases your sales, in my opinion.
I'm 100% agreement.
We call it a kid magnet as well, and we also found that Snowie has become like the meeting place at events. Like meet there because people can see it from everywhere, and that's
you have people on cell phones. Where are you? Just look for Snowie's windsock or that yellow thingy. Meet me there. I hear parents all the time. Go off, be back here in an hour. Just look for this yellow thing of Snowie's. You become a talking point. I'm going to jump over to bus real quick, Karen. If somebody wanted to see the spreadsheet for that, this is new. Hopefully I've got everything in here. So I'm going to walk through this.
Quick, Lyle,
yeah, go ahead.
When we were talking about Flavor Station, I just wanted to jump in real quick because I felt like your numbers are, although they make the point, they're also very modest. I'd run events at a ballpark, at a baseball diamond, and we literally would do like the same event, which were firework nights, and we would do like $2,000 to $3,000 every time we were pouring flavors. And it was right when we came out with the Flavor Station, and we brought that Flavor Station in, and we left that same event with $9,000 to $10,000. It was huge. It was a huge difference, and I just wanted to add that to the numbers that you had because, while you're looking at them, they look a little bit modest, but man, they changed our events forever. I would never personally ever do an event again where I had to pour flavors. Right. And somebody mentioned it lowers your overhead too. Yeah, you're less employees. You have it costs much less to just.
I'm not paying to fill bottles. I'm just that Flavor Station fills faster. Yeah, this is, remember what these numbers I was showing. This 109 versus 315 was 1 hour with one employee working. I mentioned one. Now looking at the numbers, I had 3 employees going at that picture I was showing where we were doing 14 snow cones a minute. So I'm doing almost 5 times these numbers. Versus I do 500 versus I'm doing 1,500. That's $1,000 an hour difference. I mean, it's yeah. When you start putting the multipliers in there, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump over. Thanks, Aaron. Good jump in there.
Yep.
On the bus, all this stuff is the same. The cost of the snow cone doesn't change. What I tried to put in here was different types of venues that you can enter into. Now, one of the things I do want to kind of point out with this, in this spreadsheet, if somebody's interested in this, we can get this to you, but we allow you to go in and make all kinds of changes to it, where you can go in and say, okay, how much are you paying for ice and straws and napkins and cups, and how much am I doing in an event, how long is the event? But this spreadsheet just takes and summarizes all of that information. And so what we tried to do is look at what's the good use of a bus, talking to different people that use buses, what's been successful, what hasn't. So I took and kind of put a picture here of 1 week and said what we're going to do is we're going to have 2 days of that week is going to be using the bus at an event, a major event. This is a soccer tournament, the church festival, the carnival, whatever it happens to be. I'm figuring $1,000 a day, so $2,000 for the weekend. I'm going to do 3 small events. Now, what I'm considering a small event is going to be, this is the birthday party, the graduation party, a block party that's going on in a neighborhood. This is company appreciation days, employee appreciation days. I'm only figuring 3 a week, but I'm picking these up. Like right now, I've had 5 phone calls this week already for birthday parties, and we've already booked up a couple of days with that. But we're averaging $200 a day. Now, I get asked occasionally, what price do you charge with the bus for that small event? This is just what I do personally. I'm $150 for the first hour, and that's good for up to 75 snow cones. Each additional hour is $100, and we'll do up to another 75 snow cones for that additional 100. I've kind of hit my main cost. We were looking at $2 a cone to begin. Now, I found that people would hear $150 an hour and they're like, too expensive. So I found a different way that I approach it. I sit down with them and say, when people call, what does it cost if I want you to come to a birthday party? I said, well, I have 2 options. First option is we have a machine that you can rent. We're using the Snowie 1000, our little more compact machine. You can rent it at $75 a day. That gives you the machine, 4 bottles of flavor, and 75 cups. And that'll basically make you about 75 snow cones. Or for another $75, we'll bring the bus out. We'll be there for an hour. We'll supply the worker. We bring it out. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to pick anything up. All you do is when we show up, give them your credit card number, and it's all taken care of. We do it all for you for $150. If you want us to stay for 2 hours, then add another 100 to that. By doing that rental of the 1,000 first, makes the transition over to the bus much, much easier. It's given it a reference point. Instead of going from $0 to 150, now I'm going from a rental at 75 with supplies to employee and all the fun and games and all of that, no driving or picking up for only $75 more. Tends to sell those more. The other is some things to do during the week, during the weekdays, and that's the daycares and the businesses. Daycares have us come in once a week. We show up, every Monday at 3 o'clock, and we make 80 snow cones. Business, they have their employees are looking for an afternoon break. I mentioned the welding shop. I've got a business that's got 500 employees. We show up every Thursday at 2 o'clock, and the employees get an email from the HR department saying, just wanted to remind everybody, Snowie's here at 2 o'clock today. That goes out at 1:45. 2 o'clock we show up, and we've got a line that runs for about 45 minutes to an hour. And we're just trying to hit, in 5 days, I want to hit 20 locations. That's 4 daycares or businesses a day. Now, how much do I do? In the total sales dollars, we talked about $2,000 for our big event. The small event was $600. Again, I'm figuring 3 of those at $200 a piece. The daycare is a little more complicated. We discount the price. I'm doing $120 at that. But what we're factoring in there, in the daycare, we're giving a 25% discount. Instead of charging $150, I'm charging, or instead of charging $2 a snow cone, I'm charging $1.50 a snow cone. And so the numbers go down or modified a little bit as we go into that. That's why I say I supplied this spreadsheet if you're interested in it. I'll give you my email at the end, and you can email me and I'll email it back to you.
Yeah, well, I have a couple people that have requested it as well. So
okay.
I'll get with you.
Yeah, get all that. And then the businesses, it's the same thing. But here, the businesses, I'm not discounting. I'm not giving anything back or a discount. Occasionally, we do have some people that say, if we have you come, would you give back to a charity? Then my price changes. But looking at those numbers going across, I figure I should be doing $4,800 a day. I'm sorry, a week. My gross profit out of that $4,800 is $3,500. So if I did just 1 month, looking at that, that's $10,000 profit a month. My profit should be $54,000. My total sales was $96,000. And that's assuming a 20-week summer. I don't remember who asked the question about that. I think Calvin, is that what you were looking for? Oh, Aaron, you got to unmute him.
Oh. Sorry, Calvin, you're with us again? Calvin? Anyway, all right.
Okay. Well, open it up for questions.
Yeah, questions. One thing I wanted to point out, did you end up talking about the guy in Utah? We were talking about it before the meeting even started, about location.
No, I did not.
Permanent locations. I actually brought up this location. I just want to point this out because I always thought this was interesting because, you know, I need to take it back from you. I'm going to bring it back to my screen here.
You already got it? Okay.
And let me know when you can see it. Can you see it?
Yeah, I got the Google map.
Okay. Yeah. So I just wanted to show everyone here that, you know, you don't always know that, like we always say, the best thing is foot traffic. So I'll have people that will call up and I'll talk to them and they'll say, man, I got this little gravel spot that's right off the highway and I think it'll jam. And then they start business and they don't do very well. And what we found is people don't necessarily stop and pull over unless it's like very, very convenient. Normally what we shoot for is foot traffic. And if you look over here to the right where my mouse is, I should have I don't have my drawing tools up, Lyle, like you had, but over here is a shopping center. So this is a grocery store. And there was a shaved ice stand here, and it would do well. And then if you look all the way over here, there's this little place called Milo Sport, and right here. And this parking lot, he put up in this location. And I thought, man, he is not going to do anything. He's just going to get some people that come into that little snowboard shop and skate shop, and he'll get a few of those customers. But what happened was this neighborhood, I kid you not, all of this neighborhood, and as far as it goes, these people all go for walks, and they will walk all the way down here and come. He is lined up forever, and it's kind of changed my approach, man. I go for neighborhoods, and this is a pretty busy street right here, and I will watch people constantly cross this street. They walk with their families, they go across, and they get with him as well. So you always don't have to, if it's hard to get into a supermarket in your area, look for something a shop that's willing to let you be there and is sitting next to a neighborhood that's pretty active and like to walk with their families and that. I just thought that was worth mentioning. And okay, Lyle, you do want to go back to it. We were opening up to questions.
No, we're going to open it up for questions.
I'm going to unmute everyone and see if we can avoid the echo. All right, everyone should be able to speak right now. Any questions?
None. That means we did a perfect job.
Okay, well, there are a couple things that if there's no questions, I'd like to touch on a few things. I'm going to mute everybody again here real quick, just so we don't have that echo. And just let me know down in the chat window if you do want to ask something. I'd be happy to put you on there. Snowie's forum is back up. For those of you who have been on Snowie in the past on our old website, we actually had some bots that were submitting bad material on our forum, and so we had to take it down, and we're rebuilding that right now. We ask that all of you, any questions you have, please submit it to our forum. We would love it, and we'd love to answer questions there and help that way. Also, for Snowie customers, any of you who own a building, or not even a building, but are doing business with Snowie, and you're operating under the Snowie business, we now are going to offer you websites, professionally done, and so please approach us about that. We would love to help that way as well. And then I have a question here from Jane. Are we able to view this webinar at a later date? Yes. As soon as we are done here, I'm going to put this online. You'll be able to watch it as much as you would like. The used Snowie buses for sale, are they negotiable? Call in and talk to us. Normally they're not. Normally we've scaled those down about as far as we can go, but I'm sure there's, I don't know. I probably shouldn't even comment. Call in and we'll work with you on
Aaron,
that.
you know, we do, sometimes those are built, we can get a really good price occasionally on a used chassis instead of a brand new one. Like I've got one here in Cincinnati it's brand new from a build perspective, but it's got 24,000 miles on it. So it's going to have a used chassis, but that immediately drops the price because we're not paying that drive off the lot cost of the express van. So there are ways that we can help control that cost, and we have the van gone through with a fine-tooth comb before we ever build it out, make sure it's in great shape, but we're just able to look for opportunities where we can get a good price. You know, if we can save $10,000 on the vehicle, we can pass that $10,000 savings on to you.
Perfect. And Lyle, there's also a comment here from Jane. She wants to schedule an appointment with you. She's in Indiana. And
I'm gonna put out here in the chat room. I'm gonna send my email out there right now, and if you will email me requesting forms for the appointments, any of that kind of stuff, feel free to do so.
Also, there's some people that just joined because they had the time wrong. That's that time change thing always throws a wrench in it. So thank you for joining us. Again, this will be available, and we are also going to be doing this every week. And if any of you have questions, my email is Aaron, it's AARON, @snowie.com. And even on the forums, in fact, I'll probably start a forum for webinar topics. Please submit anything that you want us to talk about directly. We're going to gauge it to you guys. A lot of times we're so in this business and we talk about it so much that sometimes we forget some of the points that really connect with you guys and what you're looking for. So please let us know. We would love to give you the content that you're looking for. In fact, I'm going to put my email down here so everyone has it to go by. But again, actually, I'd like it on the forum. That way everybody can kind of submit there. Please participate in the forum. Ask any questions you like, and we'll get you that content there. And anything else? Anybody have any questions? If make a comment down there, and love to get you on here. If any last questions. Probably purchased a trailer. I'm just going to read this question. I just joined the webinar. I'm sure you covered this during the call. I just purchased a trailer and a Swan shaver was included in the purchase. Can we use the name Snowie and use the Swan shaver? If that is possible, can we purchase your products but not the name Snowie? Absolutely. You can always purchase our products. I'll tell you the one thing with our products as well is the one thing that we do require is if somebody uses Snowie's name, we require that they purchase our flavors. It's important that everybody, no matter where they are in the world, that when they experience a Snowie, they experience the same thing, and most of that comes from flavors. And in order to be able to hold people to that, we have to have very, very good flavors. And I'm telling you, we have the best flavors in the business, and we put a lot of R&D in them. We are constantly improving our flavors and making some changes to make them better and better and better. We're a little bit more. In fact, Lyle, I don't know if you have a spreadsheet on that. Lyle's our spreadsheet kid, in case anybody didn't pick up on that.
Idiot. Yeah.
But we literally, for the price, a lot of times you can look at it and look at the concentrate and say, man, if I buy from these guys, it's cheaper than if I buy it from Snowie. But the flavors go so long that literally the difference is like a penny for every shaved ice. So to save 1 penny on each shaved ice, to have an inferior flavor is wild. Spend that 1 penny more and have a really, really good product. That's important. It makes a big difference in whether people will return and buy again. I was just getting ready to ask, how does your flavor prices compare? Can I have a copy of the spreadsheet? Yeah, Bill, we will. In fact, Bill, if you want to private message me, we will get you. We'll get you a copy of that spreadsheet. And again, Lyle put his email address up there. Lyle actually has the spreadsheet, so anybody who's interested in that, if you would just shoot an email to lyle@snowie.com, he can just reply with that spreadsheet for you. And I don't know if you're referring to the spreadsheet as far as the flavor prices. Lyle, did you ever put that in a spreadsheet? I think you did, because we literally narrowed it down to a penny.
Yeah, because I put in, now I use the pricing based on gallon pricing.
Oh, and gallon pricing, okay.
Yeah, but you can do pint, you can do 5 gallon. I mean, and that's using concentrate pricing. And I just went out based on what I can, what a gallon cost, looked at current sugar prices, current ice. I walk into Sam's to buy cups. What is the cost of the cups? So everything's just based on current pricing and what's out there in the market. And we just hadn't updated that in the last couple of years on the website. That's why this is an all-new spreadsheet I need to get to you.
Perfect.
And the bus is all new. We just finished building that.
Yeah, and I'm loving Jeremy right now. Again, it's great to have people comment that aren't us. But Jeremy just said they are comparable. They are comparable. I will agree the flavors stand out. I have people tell me how good our flavors are compared with other vendors. Thank you. We put a lot of effort into our flavors, and it's great to hear that. Copy the flavor shaved ice based gallon price. Thank you. Yeah, so Bill's saying that he wants that spreadsheet, Lyle.
Yep.
Okay, are there any other questions? Again, please tune in next week. My guess is, Lyle, you look frozen. Are you still live? Oh.
Sorry, I was reading.
You're just in a zone. Thought we've lost you there. We're going to be doing this every week. My guess is we'll probably do it every Thursday. If you guys have different suggestions on days that work better, maybe we can make that work better for everyone. We'll probably just do the same time that we did today and do them every week and touch on different content every time. So please join us again, 11 o'clock Mountain Time every Thursday, and we will be doing it every Thursday until the end of June. And even then, we will still continue to scale it back.
We're open to suggestions. What would you like to see going forward?
Yeah.
Instead of us coming up with ideas and guessing what you're interested in, what has the most interest to you?
Yeah. And again, I'll put that up on the forum. Please submit that content there, or even here if you would like. And is there anybody who would like to talk? I know we had an echo issue. I always like to hear people.
I'll be right back.
Rather than reread their text. But if anybody has anything they would like to say, we'd love to hear it. And if not, we'll probably close up here shortly. Anyone? In fact,
sorry about that. UPS driver.
Yeah, Bill. Bill just asked about the webinar. It'll actually be on our website. So if you just go to our video page, which is also linked to YouTube and to some other sites, we'll have it on all of them. So it should be fairly easy to find. And you can look for that. I'll have it up by the end of the day. So you'll be able to see this whole thing probably in an hour or two. And if you don't see it then keep looking. It'll be up in a bit. And in fact, location. You know, I'm not sure. Stella really kind of has her thumb on what locations are where. There, a lot of places we have multiple people in locations. Like I had a conversation with a guy yesterday, and he said, "Man, can you guys give me everybody's locations? We just don't have that." But he was worried if there's another person there or two. I'm telling you, we here in Salt Lake, it has become like the shaved ice capital of the world. There is shaved ice on every corner, and everyone here at Snowie, we still run all of our own events. We have storefront locations. We have buses. It's just too good of a business to pass up. And really we do what you do, and I think that's what makes Snowie great, is we are constantly out there doing exactly what you're doing. We feel the pains, the struggles, we figure out how to fix those and make them better, and we really try to make this an effortless business too, that once you get started, once you get rolling, that it's very easy to keep going and just collect on it and make a good amount of money. So as far as that location, I can't answer yes or no. If you would like to call into Estella, she may be able to answer that. I'm not sure. Let's see. Lisa's asking, some events we go to ban windsocks. What other methods of signage do you recommend? Yeah, if they ban windsocks, have you ever seen those flags that a lot of cellular companies put out? We've seen a lot of people put those on two sides of their stand, and so it's up there like a flag. I don't know if they would ban flags as well, but that's a big thing. One of the things that we found too is we have the sign that hangs off of the front of our kiosk or building. That's great because normally at events you have an aisle of people or an aisle of vendors, but nobody has any signage that sticks out. And that's what we tried to accomplish with that little thing that hangs over where people approach the window, is they can see a Snowie, even if there's not a windsock, they can see that sign as they're walking down the event. And that's Lyle commenting there. But, you know, and you can also put signs out